So, Matthew Lyon built the first grist mill on the Poultney River here in Fairhaven. And what I'm going to show the kids, okay, so these are some Vermont grist mills. And these are the mill stones. And if you look at this little thing here, mill stones are used in pairs for grinding wheat and other grains in a grist mill. But before we had grist mills, we used to grind up grain with mortar and pestle.
Mom, do you need help?
So the kids are going to be grinding up some of these grains. We have buckwheat, cracked corn, Indian corn, rolled oats. So the kids are going to be grinding it up. Before we had grist mills, that's what it had to be done to make cornmeal and flour.
So,
And Emma, the teacher, is bringing down a video
6 stations.
showing the inside of a grist mill and how the grain is ground
So
up.
6 divided into
So when the
6.
kids come down, she'll have that. Okay? Thank you.
What we're going to be talking about at this station is
It's hard to tell
the fact that Matthew Lyon was an extraordinary businessman.
99.
He was the one that brought a lot of mills to the town of Fairhaven, including a foundry, which is an ironworks. And he also spent a lot of his own money to buy equipment so that he could make a slitting mill, which was a faster, more efficient way to make nails. Nails were very valuable during colonial times, and he did a great job in bringing a lot of people to Fairhaven who actually worked for him. Sometimes up to 300 people would be working in the foundry or in his other mills. It was a great addition to Fairhaven.
Okay, so you've learned from the other two tables that Matthew Lyon was very smart, he was an inventor, and he cared about our town. So one of the things was he had a paper mill. And in the old days, this man used to go around, the rag man, in a cart, and he would pick up everybody's scraps. Then he would put them in a bag, and he would sell them to the paper mill and to the warehouses. So they had to have the man-made fibers, no nylons, no stuff in your shirt, t-shirts we don't have. And they would have to take all the buttons off, the seams, and cut them into little pieces. The thing is, it was very dangerous because the clothing was dirty. There might be feces in it. There might be rats. A lot of things like that. So when the rags were then taken to the mill and they were soaked in a chemical. So we got to pretend these are rags. It's actually just paper, and you can make more paper out of this. But this is called a slurry. And so what would happen, there was a machine that this we could dip if we were making it. And the slurry would be here. We put it here, and be a cloth down here, and push it all out until it's dry. And that would make paper. The paper, if we use this, would be similar to this, a little bit thick. You can make it thinner if you put it thick. So Matthew came along and thought, well, this is really an expensive thing to do. And he devised a way to make it with wood. First, they peeled the bark off the wood, cut the wood into little chips, and they soaked it in acid to get a slurry. And then they sent it to the mill where there was a machine that did all the rest. So the paper would end up coming out something like this, and you can all have a piece. I should say about he has his own newspaper shop too. That was one of the reasons why. Yeah. Okay, go.
I'm demonstrating today what Matthew Lyon would have had at our Carver Falls, which is on the border with Vermont and New York. And this is a demonstration of a water wheel, and the pressure from the water runs onto the wheel. The wheel then drives pulleys and belts and makes machinery work. There's no electricity at this time, so it was very much used in industry, used in manufacturing. There was a way of making big machines work, and you could get a lot of power from that. There's different ways of doing it, but basically water is trying to escape from a higher elevation to a lower elevation, and the pressure of the water running by creates energy. The energy turns the wheel then turns pulleys and belts and inside of the buildings, and very, very, very efficient way of doing it. It was used until into the 1900s, when electricity became cheap and it became more manageable. They didn't have to have all the shafts and the pulleys going across. So probably what he had would have looked something like these, like that. These are more modern.
According to that history.
That's a hydro plant that turns electricity, but it would have probably been like this. He used the power to grind stone, or excuse me, grind corn, to make paper, to just a lumber mill, so it would have run a saw. So he was very creative, very, very industrious man.
Okay, we're here today to learn how generous Matthew Lyon was. And he bore a great friendship with the town of Fairhaven. And to show that friendship, he donated 5 plots of land to the town. I'm going to talk about one of them today, and that's the common, the green, or what we normally call the park. And the original park is pictured here. That park was donated in 1879, or I'm sorry, October 1798. But it wasn't until 1835 that folks actually got it to look more like a park, because they had to chop down trees and they had to remove all this debris, huge stones and rocks. And so once they did that, ladies of the town had a fundraiser, a fair they called it, at the local tavern, and they raised $160. So that with that $160, they built the fence around the park. Now, when we put in the marble posts in the modern park, or the ones that are there now, those marble posts, one cost over $200. So $160 bought the whole fencing and posts for the original park. There was also a tree committee or a park committee, and they were in charge of making sure the trees lived, and if they died, they had to be removed and replaced. And that only lasted for about 5 or 6 years, that park. So, I mean, that park committee. But the town has always taken good care of the park. When the fence posts were getting pretty worn, the Historical Society went to the town of Fairhaven, the Board of Selectmen, and said, we would really like to put in marble posts like would have been in the original, much more sturdy than wooden posts that had been there. And so what we did was we sold each one, we offered it as a fundraiser that you could purchase a post. And if you go to the park, you'll notice on each one of these fence posts a little plaque that says who donated and who they donated in memory of. Another interesting feature of our park is the fountain. This is the third fountain. The first fountain was made out of stone. It was donated by Tilly Kilbert, and it was no longer working. So in 1976, the Rotary Club, to help celebrate the bicentennial, put in one that was made out of slate, which of course is what we have plenty of here in Fairhaven. And then in 2008, the Rotary once again purchased a fountain that was more what they thought Victorian style and a little bit prettier. And it is a beautiful fountain, and if you go there, when the sun's starting to set, you can see those silver beads of water flowing out of that fountain. It's pretty cool. Today I'm going to talk about the lights. That's the newest portion of our park. These lights took about 7 or 8 years actually. And one of the reasons is because each one of them is very expensive. We had to put electricity. We had to run electric wires through the park to make sure that they would light up. They are sensitive to the light, so one set of lights might be on and another's not, but that's just determined by the amount of sunlight it's getting at that time. We also have a gazebo, and that's a pretty important feature of our park. We have concerts in the park there. Kids at graduation or commencement or prom will line up to have their picture taken there in the park in the gazebo. So there's a lot of ways that the town of Fairhaven uses the park. We have the concerts on Thursday nights in the summer. We have Spring Fling. We have Apple Fest, which is sponsored by the school. They practice karate. You know, the karate kids will walk across the street. We have the lumberjack show and the story walk, and people have picnics. And on Easter Sunday morning, we had sunrise service. So there's just tons of things that we do in the park that brings friends together. And Matthew Lyon is the generous person who gave it to us, and I think he would be very happy to see how his friends in Fairhaven use the park.
You can call me Walter, you can call me Mr. Spur, you can call me anything you like, okay? Hi, it's nice to meet you. And we're happy to be here. We're very glad to see all of you. It's really wonderful to be able to come here and to talk to you about something that's kind of an adventure. I'm going to tell you an adventure story that took place hundreds of years ago, right here in Fairhaven. You ready for an adventure? Yay! All right. It all started in a place called Ireland, way over the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. And it started with a little boy by the name of Matthew Lyon. You see his name up here, right?
Yeah. You see his name on
That's right. Now, Matthew Lyon was born in Ireland, and his parents lived there for quite a while, but the part of Ireland where he was from actually was owned by the King of Britain.
Yep, I said.
And the people in Ireland didn't like it. So they rebelled. Some of them rebelled against the king. And the king got very angry. And he sent his soldiers to get the rebels. And they caught them. And one of them was Matthew Lyon's father. And they killed him. They executed him. It's not a nice thing. And little Matthew was very, very upset. And he remembered what that king did all his life. And he hated kings. And he hated monarchs. And he hated bullies who were nasty to the people that they were in charge of. Okay? So you understand all of that. And now Matthew went to school in Ireland. And he learned there until he was about 12 or 13 years old, a little older than you. And then he had to go to work. They took him out of school, and they took him to a printer. And a printer taught him the printing business. He learned how to make newspapers and magazines and all signs and anything that needed to be printed, he could do. A couple of years later, he decided he wanted to go to America. So he got aboard a ship and sailed across the sea to America. okay? And when he got here, he was told that he had to pay for the trip over. And he had no money. So you know what they did? They sold him as an indentured servant. That's like a slave who doesn't get paid for money. He doesn't get paid money. They give him food to live and a place to stay, and that's it. That sounds not so nice, does it? No. So he did that for a couple of years, and then he was free. And you know what he did? He went to work, and he saved his money, and he bought land. And he sold that land, and he bought more land, and he sold that. And by that time, he was a little older then, and he got married.
Yay, two.
Yay! He
Congratulations.
got married, and you know what? He married the cousin of a man named Ethan Allen.
Oh my God. Leader of the Green Mountain Boys.
Very good. Isn't that terrific? He married his niece. So, guess who became friends with Ethan Allen? Matthew Lyon. And they were all one big family. And they moved from Connecticut, where they were, up here to Vermont. When they got here to Vermont, something else happened. You're going to go there, right? You're going to see that. Matthew Lyon was with Ethan Allen. Matthew Lyon brought his troops too, and they all got into a boat at 3 o'clock in the morning and sailed across the lake. His mom was still in Ireland, living there, while he was over here. Okay, wait, hold your questions for just a little bit, okay? Let me finish the story, because there's a lot more to it. And you're going to find out about so much of it when you go to these other places around the world. Okay? Now, he went to Fort Ticonderoga. He was a soldier. He fought in the Battle of Bennington. He was at Hubbardton too, but he didn't fight there. The Bennington battlefield, and from there he went to where? Saratoga. That was the big battle where they conquered the British Army over in New York. Okay? Now, after that, Matthew Lyon became a farmer. And then he became one of the founders of this town. The first people. You know how many there were who were founders of the town? 77.
Oh my Lord. Holy, why'd you say not that many?
76 were men. And one was a woman. Her name is Elizabeth Chittenden.
Chittenden. That's the name of a county.
That's right. That's right. She was married to Thomas Chittenden, the first governor. He was Matthew Lyon's friend also. So, Matthew Lyon had the town here in front of him, and he bought up the land from his other founders, bought lots of land. He had 400 acres at one point. Went all the way up to the falls, Carver Falls, okay? And up there was where he put his mills. Put up a grist mill, he put up a sawmill, he put up a paper mill, he put up an ironworks up there. All of them up there for one reason. There was water. And water made power.
Energy.
And you're going to find out about that in detail later. Okay? That's good. Now, happened next was really interesting. Matthew Lyon was liked by everybody because he helped build the town into an industrial place to live. So there were jobs here. And people voted for him to go to the State House in Montpelier, okay, where the capital is. And there he spent a year or two, and they voted for him to go to Congress in Philadelphia, because we didn't have Washington, D.C. Philadelphia was the second capital. Do you know what the first one was? New York. Isn't that interesting? New York was the capital, one, and then it was moved to Philadelphia. So he went to Philadelphia and became a congressman. Now when he was there, he met up with a nasty fellow from Connecticut. And they believed different things. Okay? So the fellow from Connecticut went up to him and called him a coward to his face.
Dude, that's a slick move.
And Matthew Lyon didn't do anything.
What? That's what you're saying.
He didn't do anything. So the man called him a coward again. Now this is in front of the entire Congress of the United States. Well, it wasn't the United States, but the colonies. Okay? It was the United States, excuse me. And guess what? Matthew Lyon got angry. But he didn't hit him. He spit in his face. Ooh, that was yucky. Right? That was a yucky thing to do. But you know what? Congress spent the next 2 weeks, every single day, they took a vote to see whether or not they could kick Matthew Lyon out of Congress forever for spitting in that man's face. That man's name was Roger Griswold. And Griswold got so angry after the end of the 2 weeks, he went from Congress in Philadelphia, he went down Market Street and he bought a walking stick. And he came back, and while Matthew Lyon was at his desk writing letters, that stick and Griswold hit him over the head and began beating on him. Matthew Lyon was hurt. He got up and he went to the fireplace and he grabbed the fireplace tongs and they started hitting on each other. The other congressman finally separated them and the fight was over. And from that time on, Matthew Lyon was called the Spitting Lion. And that name stuck to this day. Now, one other thing. Griswold was a friend of the man who became the president of the United States. His name, he was the first one. Who was the second one?
It's John Adams.
John Adams. Very good. Very good. John Adams. He was second president. And Matthew Lyon was, remember, he was a printer. He was also a publisher. He had a newspaper. And in his newspaper, he put nasty things about the president. Because the president was just like a monarch. He behaved like a tyrant. He wanted all the power over the people. People were not able to say bad things about him. That's what he wanted. So he got his friends in Congress to make a law called the Sedition Act. And that act, in 1798, was used as a law against Matthew Lyon. He was brought to trial in Rutland, and he was convicted, and he was sentenced by a man who was the Supreme Court Circuit Judge, whose name is William Patterson. And he sentenced Matthew Lyon to 4 months in jail.
Oh man, what did he do?
$1,000 fine. Why? Because he called the President of the United States pompous. And he was using money, the taxpayers' money, to have big, long dinners with his friends. Matthew thought that was like being a king. And remember who he doesn't like. Kings, right. So this man was trying to be a king. He wanted, in fact, John Adams wanted everybody to say, Your Excellency to him. He wanted you to bow down to him. That's what he wanted. And Matthew Lyon said, this is America. We're free. Matthew Lyon was a champion for freedom. Freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Two of the most important freedoms we'll ever have here. Okay?
Yep.
Now, when he left town, after all of that was over, he gave 10 acres of land that he owned in the middle of this town to the people of Fairhaven forever. Forever. So the next time you go in the park across the way, say thank you to Matthew Lyon. Okay?
Yes, right there in the front of the park, you should just go.
That's right. Okay? Now, what we want you to do is to break up into groups. I want you to go and talk with and see everybody. Because all of these people are from the Fairhaven Historical Society. They'll introduce themselves to you and tell you what they have, okay? For you to know about. Great, thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you.